Well, my favorite that one would be, mm, along came Polly. Mm, mm. How long
God,
should we do it before we actually start having a conversation? Fuck.
I love that movie. She's like 59. Woo!
I don't even remember that. That's one with Jennifer Aniston, right?
Oh yeah.
And he has the Indian food or whatever.
Yes. And then he, for some reason, fucking like
Uses
puts
the
a hand
loofah.
towel down the toilet like an
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just at that point, you got to own it. If you had to use a hand towel to wipe your butthole, like, just own it. Be like, hey. But I would say before that, ask for toilet paper. You know, just own up. Be like, hey, look, I felt better. I need some TP. You're out in here. I know this is new. I know we're new to one another, but
I
can
don't
you
know.
help
Jennifer
brother out?
Aniston's hot. He didn't want to embarrass himself.
I
Yeah,
mean, you
but
could always hit someone with the look. If I hit somebody with the classic line, "I need teepee for my bunghole," and they don't laugh, like we're
I
done.
loved Beavis and Butthead. Like that was I was young too. That was my show, man. I would just stick my shirt up over my head. I am Cornholio.
how am I not surprised by this? If any of my female friends would have fucking loved Cornholio, it's this one.
It's me.
All right, so we were talking shit beforehand. And so I had told one of my teen stories. So Kaylee was just getting into one of her stories, and she was unsure
Yeah, so
about whether or not she wanted to
pass it
say
out.
it.
Oh yeah. So my freshman year of high school, me and my two guy friends decided it was unfair. Seniors had senior skip days. We're like, we're doing freshman skip day. Nobody had their driver's license. We're only 15 years old. And so we all pretended like we went to school, like we got ready in front of our parents. Our parents left for work, and then we're like, peace. So they stole their neighbor's vehicle, their farm vehicle. They came and picked me up. We went to my other friend's house, the guy's friend's house, and we just drinking, right? 15-year-olds, I mean, we're like playing cards, we're getting drunk. We're not like used to drinking. So we get very intoxicated. And I remember at one point, the school, we hear my friend's voicemail. It's like, this is the school, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't at school today. We're just checking. All of a sudden, I'm like, shit, there's going to be on my answering machine. We've got to get to my house and erase it. So we, not sober, go to my house, climb in the window.
Answering machines. I love this.
We delete the message from the school. We go back to their house and drink. Anyway, at one point, I'm very intoxicated. I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom. So I go in and I'm peeing, and it's a little fuzzy, but I recall I had to puke, so I just puked on myself. At
Hey.
some point, I fall over on the floor. My friends come in. Next thing I know, I wake up. I'm naked in the bathtub. They're trying, like, they think I'm dying. All my clothes are off. They've put them in the washer because I have to go home at some point. I wake up in shock, hit my head on the spout of the shower, and fall back. Next thing I know, I'm dressed again.
So I feel like there's the two possibly most unsettling things you can wake up to is suddenly being naked or suddenly no longer being naked.
Right. Both of those scenarios happened. They had to carry me into the vehicle. They had to carry me into my house and put me in my bed.
Yeah, if I wake up naked in a bathtub, the first thing I'm doing is checking, like, did somebody take a kidney or some shit?
I think at this point, there was just two terrified teenage boys of, holy shit, she's so drunk. We've got to get her out of our house before our parents come home, because we've been at school all day. Yeah. And then I remember my mom came up to my room and she's like, I just don't feel good. I was wasted in my bed, 15 years old. And look at me now.
Look at you now.
Living at now.
Not much better.
Not any better. No.
I'm glad you told that story. I'm not telling mine again. That one can.
Maybe not yours on air.
Yeah, it can live in nothingness.
Yes.
Just between us. Secrets make friends. Remember that, everybody.
Hey, but according to the stripper from The Office, secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone.
What are secrets?
It was Michael Scott was like getting a lap dance and he was like, oh, wait, no, I got a girlfriend. So he asked the stripper, what should I do?
Imagine a real life scenario of an office that would randomly have a stripper. Can you imagine in this day and age if somebody like a stripper just came into somebody's job?
I mean, really? I could have seen it happening.
That's true.
All it would have taken was one person to think it was funny, and
That's true.
Yeah.
I was at a party once where a really gross man, an Elvis stripper, showed up.
I told you to stop telling people how we met.
And now
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so believable that the people are like, "What did Steven, was he really an Elvis stripper?" Times were tough, man.
Yo, I'm not getting back
Absolutely.
on that pole. That's all I gotta say.
Well, the problem, Stephen, was that you couldn't hit the notes anymore for Jailhouse Rock. I mean, that's really why you stopped.
But I mean, that's kind of like a period piece, though. You have to respect the artistry there because, like, if he was just like skinny or more in shape Elvis, like that's not really. He was really playing to like the latest Elvis. You
Yeah,
know,
the early Elvis, I'm sure, was very different than the end Elvis. They used him up.
that was back when people didn't shave their pubes.
That's okay.
It is okay. You don't have to shave if you
I
don't want
know.
to shave. It's
Well,
your body.
anybody who decided for laser hair removal, if the bush comes back in, we're fucked.
Really?
I believe you get a refund.
Get a refund. I would like. Is there a procedure for it to grow back now?
Um, if there was, I would have hair.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Like, I mean, I'm sure you could get a hair transplant, but
But they have to take that from somewhere else. Apparently, there's like hair jello or something that
They
they're
take
coming out
hair
with.
from somewhere when people get hair implants.
Yeah, so when you do a hair transplant, they normally take it from like the bottom of your neck, and
Oh,
they're taking that hair from there and then poking it up in here where
because it'd
you know
be
people
really
see.
funny. They took like chest hair and you had like Jerry curls.
I mean, they also could do that with the poobies, you know.
yeah, but I think it's easier to just get a merkin.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
Merkin
like
is a pubic wig.
I'll just be bald. It's fine.
Haley did not know that that existed.
Nasty.
I mean, to
Okay.
be fair, I also thankfully did not know what that was until just now, and my day's a little bit worse for it. I can't wait for the fucking day where she she actually spits her fucking drink all over her computer.
What's gonna happen?
She's gonna be so pissed.
He's
And look at his little arms. I feel like he needs to work them out more. His arms are so small, which is a great segue into what the fuck we're talking about skipping body parts on your training programs.
yes. Should
Or
you?
just
Should
not
you not?
training shit, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. This was
So
Phil's idea. I feel like he should be owning this right now.
Yeah. So just part of the thought process here was like, hey, one of the questions I get asked whenever somebody says they're thinking about competing in like fit model or bikini is, do you program for chest? And like even for a lot of my lifestyle female clients, it's like, hey, should I be bench pressing? Should I be doing push-ups? Should I be doing like specific movements that are typically more associated with men? And I always go with there's kind of a pros and a con to it. Like if you're just asking me from like a functional perspective strictly, yes, you should train every body part to some degree. It's just good for your muscles, it's good for your body, it's good for functional strength. But then whenever you get into like sport specifics, specifically bodybuilding, it's like, well, let's also find the balance of making good use of your time within your training program, especially somebody who's a highly competitive athlete. Your sessions are probably really freaking long to begin with, or especially if you're more advanced. Like, if I think about my peak of powerlifting, like a day
Yeah.
that I deadlifted was like pushing on 2 hours by the time I accounted for warm up, mobility, workup sets, back off sets. Like it can
That's
be
why I never warmed up or did mobility when I power lifted. Too time consuming. Just fucking go in and get after it.
just go, ooh, baby, I like it raw.
I can't do that
remember
shit
young
anymore.
days.
But I was like in my 20s. So I think it's good because, I mean, what you touch on here is specificity. And so there's sometimes where like, and I'm sure even we will do it. We'll see somebody doing something in the gym. We'll be like, what the fuck are they doing? And if you actually stop them and ask them, most of the time they'll be like, oh yeah, fucking bullshit, whatever. But every so often one will be like, oh, I do this like this weird sport thing. Or like, oh, I'm just practicing in my off season for ski season. So, I really have to like be able to have one leg really strong on the turns. And so I do these weird movements that maybe don't make as much sense to you. Or like shooting drills with bands and yada, yada, whatever. And you'll be like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
But
So
it can make sense sometimes
yeah,
too. Even for weird shit.
I've trained a couple of professional wrestlers, and like with them especially because there's to put it just kind of in relatable terms, there's a lot of acrobatics and synchrony, and you've got to be thinking about like how that person is trying to move for this. So like one guy had a move where he has to spin the person around. Well, he only started from his right, spin them around and have to get them here. So it was a lot of, well, let's do pressing movements up with rotation in your hips to be able to do this right. So yeah, if you're just watching him, like you're doing this big twist with a kettlebell, big heavy twist with a kettlebell, it's like, that looks kind of silly. But then you see him on a Saturday night and it's like, oh, he's doing that because he's got to get a 250-pound man up in the air and rotate him and also still be able to kind of cradle him down safely. Like, yeah, it looks a little silly. Like
Relatively safely.
to relatively,
It's
yes.
so hard.
Gravity is still a thing no matter what. But then you apply it into the principle into bodybuilding, right? Look, if I've got a fit model or a bikini athlete, I'm not going to have you do, hey, let's bench press like you're a power lifter. That just doesn't make sense. I mean, if you enjoyed in your training, okay, but if we're then also having to think about, well, what's the criteria? Because just because you enjoy something doesn't mean you get to do quite as much as what you want to do. So,
Can I offshot us real quick here? Because I do think that, and obviously, like, I think we've all dealt with a lot of competitors, and just like with where we were at, a lot of first time competitors and newer competitors too. There are so many people that are just getting into this. They're like that overcomplicate the shit out of it. Like, oh well, I can't do this because I need to do this really specific glute variation of X, Y, or Z. And we're like, no, dude, like we're not that far yet. And so I do think that like you kind of earn the more I don't know, special quote unquote kind of movement things like as you really progress over time. And so that's one of those things you just have to be aware of. It just is what it is. So you don't want to do this thing where it's like, okay, fuck, I need to overcomplicate it because a lot of the time in the beginning, it doesn't need to be that complex.
I think one of the most common, I'm sure we've all, our most common, because we deal with a lot of females and competitors, is why am I not training chest or should I be training chest? That's probably the one I get the most. And I go back and forth. Sometimes I think before we were recording, I said I like an incline dumbbell press on a shoulder day, but it just depends on the person too, because it is also very, very common that a lot of people in the sport and not in the sport who like just training have breast implants. And I feel like that's one where you can train chest, you go by your doctor's recommendations, but most of them say you can do like pull-ups and train chest and things like that. Um, but if they have implants and I automatically will not. If they have implants, or like doctor said no, or I don't want to, or they've had a displacement before, something like that. And then bicep, tricep also. So I program those, and I always do. But I do have some competitors where they've got the muscle foundation that they need. I have a bikini girl right now, and she's like jacked, and she is going to be in season next year, but she does not need any more bicep tricep. Like, she is good. We don't even, because for her, and really for anybody, if something's already developed, you're going to better utilize your time putting that time into glutes or hamstrings or whatever it is, if they have another lacking body part, because it all adds up for time. And I would rather leave, for her, we don't train chest, biceps, or triceps. That leaves us a lot of other time in her training program for her weaknesses, when that's not one of her weaknesses.
I think what people also forget a lot of the times is your triceps are still getting worked to some degree as secondary muscles in any kind of like pushing, pressing shoulder movements as well, right? So any kind of push, press, shoulder press, whatever it might be, you're getting tricep involvement there. So you were doing chest, you're getting delt and tricep involvement in that. Say you're doing any kind of back movement, you're getting bicep involvement in that. And so I think most people fail to recognize that for maintaining muscle, you can do that on like 30% of your total, like your normal volume. It's really a low threshold to maintain that musculature. And so you really don't have to do a lot of it if your physique is where it's at for something like a physique based sport. Um, and then the other thing is that sometimes that changes because, like, oh, we have really good balance right now, but we need more glutes. But as we grow more glutes, that changes things. And so maybe we need to add some more hamstrings to go along with that so that it matches the overall density and shape that they're looking for. And that changes from league to league too.
Core is another really common one where I don't always program core in because, again, something that somebody newer to training won't realize is every single movement you do in a gym, you engage your core. You should be bracing and engaging and keeping things. And so you get a lot of, like, if I haven't done tricep cable rope pull downs for a while and I add them in, my core is usually sore the next day a little bit. Nothing crazy, but it's just a different engagement. So I don't add if somebody really the only time I go into is if somebody had like diastasis recti or something where we need to functionally work on pelvic floor or some, closing muscle separation. Or some people just want it. Like they feel like they're missing out if I don't program something in there. And I usually will add it to whatever their shortest training day is. I'll add a few movements to the end of that. But that's not one where like I don't think a core work is gonna make or break somebody unless they had pelvic floor diastasis recti issue. But I think you can better utilize like vacuums to work on that core control.
But that also matters on like how bad the diastasis recti is. Because
Yes.
for some, like if you're ripped, you're fucking ripped, dog. Like,
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes
because I've had
surgery is
clients where
the
it was so
only
bad,
Yeah,
it just
sometimes
was what it
surgery
was.
is the only way, and that's a hard conversation because I get a lot of females where their main concern is their stomach. Will this change? Will this go in? Will this and I think there's a lot of misconception where people think they need to diet or lose weight where it's a extra skin issue or a diastasis recti issue that is not going to be fixed by nutrition and training. Like, it needs
All
to
right, so
be
let's
fixed.
show some belly real quick, right? Because so for those of you watching on YouTube, to the visual, like for most women, so one, let's be real. Having abs for the female competitors in bikini and fit model doesn't actually matter. It's not part of the judging criteria. You don't need to have a six pack. In fact, sometimes that will work against you. But
Training
what we're talking
obliques
about
will work
for
again.
the ladies is like, I just can't like pull this in. I can't quite control this well enough. Whereas like it should probably be here, except, I got a little bit of pooch there, so it's whatever. So I should be here, but really I can only get it here. And that's me trying really hard to control it. And I think that's where like the pelvic floor work, the stuff like vacuums and whatnot really kicks in and shows a ton of benefit because you can be lean enough and you can be leaner than you need to be for some of these divisions, and it will like that little pooch can still kick out some if you can't control it well. And then other things too, like if you didn't have water with your food while you were trying to carb load and peak and all that food sitting in you, if you didn't pee or poop, that kind of stuff, those things can also push out in there because they're inside you. um, but that's a pretty common one that I would say because we work with a lot of people who've had children and have families, and that's really, I think, what that's what I'm looking for as a coach is, does it look like we're able to control it well enough? Not, well, I guess we're looking for, is it lean enough too? But it's a different thing than if we're lean enough. Like they're two separate things altogether.
Yeah.
On the guys' end, is there anything? Because I have only ever coached one men's physique athlete. But is there any in the men's division? Is there any body parts that you would ever? I mean, I guess not. They train everything
I
unless
mean,
there's just
mainly it
something
would be like
over.
men's physique because you've got the board shorts, but even that, like that look has changed with the fit of the shorts. Like it's gone from fairly baggy to most organizations they want to see a little bit tighter, a little more form fitting now, but it's still very upper body dominant. And it's like, okay, well, let's just make smart use of our time for programming for this. Like, okay, just like with everything else, it's going to be one from the back. Like I would rather give you more volume for your lats. I'd rather give you more work for your rear delts than have you do a whole bunch of work on your quads or on your hamstrings. Like, you're probably still gonna have a little bit of hamstrings showing, and we want to see judges are gonna want to see definition there, just out of we're seeing how lean are you and how much muscle do you have and how the shorts are fitting. So it's more of like aesthetics. But again, if I'm just thinking about making good use of someone's time in the gym and in their training, I would rather, even for a men's physique athlete, put more into their back, put more into their shoulders, put more into their chest, their arms. I would much rather see time for that training wise than, okay, well, let's do 20 sets this week for your quads.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's anybody listening wondering, is there a body part you shouldn't be training? Unless you're a seasoned competitor or you've just really been training hard on your own, likely you're not going to need to skip any body parts in the
From an
beginning.
emotional investment perspective, just pretty much calves are genetic. So that's like my only one is calves.
I gave up on those years ago.
Training calves. I have good, like for a female though, I have calves, even though I hadn't trained them in a long time. I just started again because I realized I was like, I
I
feel like I have
find I
Pilates
find that
knees.
if you come from like an athletic background where there's a lot of like start stop interval type stuff,
I want to track
boxing,
hurdles. Yeah.
volleyball, track hurdles, football, like if you're used to just high intensity bursts and you have that athletic background, those people tend to have better calves. Or if you're somebody who maybe you used to carry around a lot of excessive body fat, that's another good way that I've just
There's
seen.
some dads with some hella some calves.
Have you seen, like, there's some dads out there that are just built like oversized toddlers where it's like you have massive legs and you don't do anything, but they're
Yeah.
muscular. It's like
Yeah.
Clydesdale.
With their fucking white New Balance.
Hey,
So
hey, hey, don't knock them.
this is it. So here's an important thing to all right, so abs matter for men's physique. You need to have, but here's the other thing. I can do crunches and leg lifts at home. Like I can get a pull-up bar and put it in my doorway and do leg raises at home. I can do crunches and floor work for abs at home. I don't have to do that at the gym. So I could do that in the morning before I take a shower or at night before I take a shower, whatever. So when it comes to making your use out of your time in the gym, like, there are things like that where it's like, "Okay, cool, I probably don't have to do this while I'm there,"
And
because
doing core work in the morning can be good for digestion too. Anybody listening, if you wanted to put it into your morning routine.
I don't know anything about that. I do like get a little 10-minute walk and a little bit of movement, um, after a meal to help out, so I can't attest to the core work. But, like, for me, I trained calves for years, hard as shit, not so hard, like, hey, my calves are my calves, but one of those other things is if you look at my wrists and my ankles, they're not big. My bone structure isn't necessarily super big. And if you look at how it's in the insertion and the origins are, a lot of that calf muscle is tendon. So how much that pops out is going to depend on where that tendon starts. How high does it start? And so those things make differences. Just like when we talk about, oh man, my shoulders have never really looked crazy, right? They've looked okay, but they've never looked crazy. Well, yeah, because they insert almost halfway down my humerus. You pull that up another inch, same amount of muscle is going to look much different on my
You'll
Yeah.
front.
find out a lot more. Yeah.
And so this is where I think people get really caught up in this, particularly with the sport of bodybuilding, physique sports, or even just like the fitness industry, because it's a bunch of fucking whatever people in shape throwing muscle things at you. And it's like, oh, well, I want to look like this person and I want to look like that person and forget about fucking steroids and all the other shit that can go into it. And, a pump. 'Cause I look 20 pounds bigger if I have a really good pump, but I look pretty normal otherwise, right? There are some things where you're just never going to have that same look, right? Some people just have wider shoulders, and so their waist looks smaller,
To your
right?
point,
You can get leaner and it'll look like your waist is smaller. Yes, it will be. But will you ever look exactly like that other
Yeah.
person?
Some people look a
No.
little more square.
so to your point, look at The Rock. Nobody would say The Rock is any kind of fat. Nobody would be like, oh, he needs to cut more. But he does not have he's never had abs. Like, go back and look at, like, as lean as he's ever been, he has
But he
never
doesn't
had, like,
taste.
the etched abs.
So abs is another one too. And so when you talk about abs, you're talking about your rectus more no rectus
Rectus
abdominis, right?
abdominis.
Yes. I was like, too many words in my brain. And so how that is, so like say you do have something like what we were talking about early, the recti, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
I see.
recti, rectum, whatever.
Yep,
God.
damn near killed him.
Diastasis recti. So that means it is torn. But how that muscle and connective tissue sits, like that's going to be different for everybody. So some people may have like really like quote unquote pretty abs that like they all line up really well. Some of them they'll fucking be like sideways and they'll be lying in the middle of this one and whatever. And like for me, my bottom abs are like it just gets smooth down there, you know?
Yeah, I've seen
Um,
girls stage leaner than me without visible abs. And it's just genetics for them. But I'll have visible abs, but I'll still have cellulite in my back post. So it's all kind of a give and take of what our bodies.
yeah. And so the reason I say this is because sometimes we get so focused on thing X, Y, or Z that we lose the forest for the trees. And what that can do is if I'm like, oh shit, I really need to work on my shoulders. I need to do more shoulder work. I need to do more chest work. And I'm already at a point where maybe I'm doing a lot of volume and intensity. Like my training's already pretty hard. I'm not taking it easy on that. I'm pushing really tough. And so if I try and push harder, it is likely that now I'm going to end up with an injury. Now something's going to be like a continual ache or pain. And now I can't really even train it to what I was training it to. And so for me, I think there's nothing wrong with training hard. There's nothing wrong with like wanting this and wanting to better yourself or any of those things. But you do want to be aware, like sometimes the answer is not changing your training substantially. It is just more time eating food, not dieting, living life, and giving your body the opportunity to grow.
And I think that's for seasoned competitors, I think that can sometimes be the hardest thing is to actually take a true grow season where you're not going anywhere near a deficit for a year or more after you've reached maintenance calories from a proper reverse. So, and that's where you're going to get that growth and you're able to actually take the judge's feedback. You're able to apply it into your training and you're able to actually grow where they're telling you to grow. So like if judge's feedback is you need more hamstring, okay, well, we need to crank the volume up on that. Depending on their feedback, they might have said, "Hey, you're a little too quad dominant." Okay, well, we need to possibly dial that back. Maybe not train that muscle group for a for a set amount of time, and just put more focus in on hamstring. But you need the food to support growing it in the first place.
Yeah, I think a
I
lot of
also
people get scared of eating enough.
well, and I also think that some people, because here's another one that I see happen all the time with like skipping parts or exercise selection, whatever we want to call it, is people. I think they undersell what compounds do for us, right? So they're like, "Oh, well, I'm squatting, but I need to do a whole bunch more hamstring work." I'm like, "Well, your hamstrings are still working while you squat, right?" Or I'm squatting and I'm hip thrusting and I'm and I'm doing all this work. And I was like, so maybe like overall we're doing okay, but that might even be an instance to where like, okay, maybe we should try pulling back a little bit on some of the extra like specifics work and see how we respond there. Um, because overtraining is a thing. In the off season stuff, that was always normal for me because like I came up around natural bodybuilding. Like, yes, my first shows were NPC, but like what I loved and what really got me into everything was natural bodybuilding. So when you looked at natural bodybuilders, you know, Doug Miller, um, Brian, I want to say Cranston, but that's the dude from Breaking Bad.
I
Um,
know who you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. And some of these other guys, they took really long off seasons. They weren't competing year after year because they wanted to have time to grow and to get better. And so the idea of taking that time, competing wasn't the same identity crisis that it is for a
Yeah,
lot
it
of.
used to be common you'd do a couple shows and go into an off season, but now it's like when you're in season, you're just rapid fire depending on what you're. I mean, I don't do that with too many of my clients. I still keep it just because health is still the main focus there. And even if you're a seasoned competitor, you can run your body into the ground.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that that's responsible coaching. The only people that like can, I think, do show after show are absolute top level pros.
Yeah, where they
And
have the
even
muscle they
then,
need, they're
yeah,
accustomed to holding that conditioning. 'Cause it's hard to do. People don't realize how hard it is because they think, "Oh, I'll just start a reverse day." And I start my clients reversing if they're already ahead of time, but they're still gonna feel like shit, like they're stage lean.
mhm,
Even the food is irrelevant, it's the body fat percentage that's gonna get you that feeling. Now, mentally, I think you do like, if you're on more food, just the fact that you get to chew it and eat it and have more, I think there is some benefit to that in terms of not feeling quite as deprived just because you actually get to add in more. But I think too, people don't realize, you said, Stephen, about like overtraining. If you're a natural competitor, I think there's a misconception that I'll just do more. Like I'll
yeah,
train more days, more sets, more reps. Because sometimes my clients, but can you add some more to my program? I'm like, no. Like
Right.
if you are really going to RTE of 9 on 6 exercises that aren't like a calf raise or a bicep row, like you should be spent. Like you shouldn't even feel like, because I just had a girl today and she's a newer lifter. She's been amazing, but she already had leg press in, but she wanted me to have 3 sets of the standard leg press and then 3 sets of the angled leg press. And I'm like, we don't need 6 sets of just a different variation of a leg press. She's not a competitor and she's just a lifestyle person. But I'm like, that's just like, there's not actually a benefit because she also has barbell squats in that day. She had hip thrusts, like she's going to have a lot of volume um, on those days.
all right. So before we get off too much, because I'll forget it.
Okay.
Even with pros, even with top level pros, they still need time off. The reason that you see so many top level pros competing all year round or all the time is because most of them are on some sort of we'll call it a medical intervention at that point.
They got a
I
little
don't
in hand.
I don't know many that haven't been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, hypothyroid, right? Like, so even if you're mentally doing okay, you still need time off if you want to stay actually healthy. Because and we've seen it. I can pull up the paper at some point that shows like when you are low body fat, when and lower circulating leptin levels, your brain senses that and shunts your sex hormone production. So things like testosterone and that kind of stuff. So being lean has an impact on your body.
Yeah,
And
because
so
if you're lean, what the body recognizes from like, hey, if you're we go way back, right? Like early
my body's not
human
that fucking
development.
good. It's not that smart, and I can't remember shit.
So like if we think about it from a perspective of what are we meant to do? We're meant to eat. And if we're eating, that means that we're surviving and we're healthy. And that means that we are now able to reproduce. And if you are super low body fat, your body's going, whoa, I have bigger priorities. I need to not worry about reproduction. So testosterone's going to go down, estrogen, progesterone, any of your sex driven hormones are not going to be at optimal levels. And it's not that you can't put on muscle if your testosterone is low. I mean, when I got on TRT, my testosterone was like 115, 119, something like that. I was still bench pressing damn near 400 pounds. You can put on muscle with low amounts of testosterone, but why actively try to push water up a hill whenever if your sex hormones are low from just being really lean? Get to a healthy body fat percentage, get to a healthy composition, get your hormones in optimized levels for you. And that's going to make building muscle a lot easier. It's going to make your recovery better. And to Kaylee's point earlier, People ask for more volume, more volume, more volume. Well, you're not actually growing muscle while you're in the gym. You're growing muscle while you're resting. So take the rest time physically, take the rest time from the diet, because then also the average person competes for what, 2 years? And that's it. Especially people that do it back to back. It's like you're going to burn out as much as you might love it today. The idea of being on the stage and all the glitz and the glam and the show day spray tan and everything else that goes with it, male or female, you're going to burn out if this is all you focus on for 2 years or 3 years. You need to take time to have other things happening in your life.
You
Because at
guys
the
like
end
to
of the
tan?
day, when it's over and you're finished with that, you're gonna be I can't think of anybody who would be like, if you trash your body and shut it down when you're no longer competing, you could possibly have health issues that you then have to deal with later in life. Where if you can go about it a little bit healthier, I feel like one, you may be able to compete longer, and two, when you're done competing and you have your normal life, I think people would be happier with the health. But I say that and they might not, because I'm also not a top Olympian, and every one of them might be like, no, I don't care what the repercussions are. I'd still be worth it to me. So I guess that's just my personal perspective, not, a fact driven
Well,
statement.
I think it's hard to have any other perspective when you're in it. Um, because not only are most of them somehow making a living with that to some degree, whether it's sponsorships or, the attention or whatever it might be, other people are making a living off of them in many cases too. Like if I'm a coach and I have somebody that's a top 5 Olympian, you best bet I'm fucking they're helping build my business at that point too,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I think that one's just kind of like tough in general. But it's there's also the misconception when you go to the volume, because that was old school bodybuilding. Old school bodybuilding was drug bodybuilding. That's what it was. Competitive bodybuilding, like and Arnold's day and all, like it's drugs, and that stuff is still there. And so if you are a natural athlete, you cannot handle the kind of volume and intensity supersets and blah 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 whatever that somebody on drugs can, because those drugs give them more ability to recover.
Yep.
And I think that's an
It,
important perspective too when you're seeing someone on Instagram, because I do notice that not everybody, but there is a culture of bodybuilding that almost they're not outright shaming you, saying you're not training as hard as them or doing XYZ, but I think it's
oh
important.
fuck, we're getting on this one.
This
Nope, we started. You
I said
fucking
it
started it.
nicely, but I
That's
think
it.
it's important to remember if you're watching somebody, they're going to be able to maybe push more weight, get closer to failure, or do other things because they have assistance there. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, they're still badasses and they're obviously still putting in the work. But I think having that perspective helps too. Because I've gotten caught up in that before. Like, man, they can lift a whole lot more than me, or they're growing muscle faster, or maybe I am a little bitch in the gym, which sometimes I can be a little bitch in the gym. But, I think it's all of that's perspective, because I have trained on Anabar myself and it is very different. I had a whole hell of a lot more strength. I was able to go closer to failure before I really wanted to stop, and did give me an edge. I was still putting in the work, but it definitely gave me a competitive edge in terms of against myself, like, me against me kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
So
even from a HRT perspective, and again, differentiate anabolic steroid use as you are going well above normal human levels. You are going into superhuman physiological levels of testosterone. And for HRT, the goal is to get you within a normal range, typically under like 900 for your total testosterone. So that was one of the first things that I recognized whenever I got on HRT was, whoa. At the time, I was still trying to pursue powerlifting again, post knee getting all blown up. But I realized, wow, it doesn't take me 3 days to recover from my squat day. I'm recovered in like 24 hours just being at like 800 for my total testosterone. And there was that thought of, well, okay, if this is what like 150 milligrams of testosterone is doing. Well, there are guys that are blasting 500 milligrams a week. Like, what would that do?
Wow.
Like,
So
it
with
crosses
the
your
Instagram stuff, also like nobody posts their sets of them being a little bitch. I like I'm never gonna like I'll use myself. If I'm like, oh fuck, 275 feels really heavy on deadlifts today. I guess I just need to stay here. Even if I make that decision, I'm damn sure ain't fucking posting about it. Not when I'm normally posting like, oh, here's 4 plates, yada yada la. I'm not gonna be like, oh, look at little baby Steven with the little baby weights today,
As a
which is
little
still a
baby,
lot of
I
weights.
always feel like that's probably what people think, but I don't want to. I don't share my heavier sets because my form goes eventually at the end of a set if I'm really trying to push.
Meow.
Do what?
Meow. Cat back. Cat back that deadlift dog. I did post my cat back deadlifts the other day though. I didn't give a fuck. I was like, fuck it. So there's that too. Where it's like, but and I fucking I feel like it's like a I don't know, like an I'm better than you thing because I work so much harder than you. But my look on it is it's like, why the fuck would I want to work harder than I need to? Like, especially if it doesn't benefit me or if it gives me the same benefit. What the fuck is the point? I would rather really focus on doing what I need to do to make progress and growth that where I can have like maybe I don't need to do abs, maybe I don't need to do calves, so I can spend that time where it's not overbearing and taking away from other things. I can still fucking focus on the other things in my life. And I'm not always battling an injury. When I was powerlifting, dude, my groin was always ready to tear. I could feel it all the time with squats.
You
Guess
did
what? I
talk
don't have
about
that
your
problem
groin
anymore.
quite a bit.
Hmm?
You did talk about your groin quite a bit in those days.
Yo, dude, it was so bad. It was always the right one too. I know what you mean. Look, if you have to talk about it, it's not that impressive. If everybody else is talking about it, that's when you know.
Bingo. Like the happiest people are the ones that are making their moves quietly. Like, I don't need to post my workouts for anyone's benefit. Like, I'm not about to go doing a tutorial. There's plenty of those videos online. I have days where it's like, yeah, sure, give me the 35s for lateral raises. I also have days where I'm like, oh shit, the 20s feel heavy.
Do
When am I
video of
going to
mine. I
push
do post
harder?
my workouts though.
I
Not
know,
all
but
the time, but they're my most saved ones. Like people want that. They want ideas.
well, maybe that's also why
Give the
my
people what they want, Phil.
I thought
Yeah,
people just
they want to see
wanted
that juicy booty. You got to get the right angle when you're doing deadlifts and RDLs. Bill.
Telling you,
well,
you slap on a pair of super tight leggings and a sports bra and you do videos, you're gonna blow
hey,
up.
No, 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 no.
had
That's not his.
I had the
His
hoochie
big
daddy
jam
shorts.
is the little Daisy Dukes,
Yeah,
the little jorts. That's
the
what he needs.
hoochie. Look, I've posted videos of me in the hoochie daddy shorts doing hip thrusts, and I figure if that didn't get me to go viral, nothing will.
So
Did you
what's the most
shave your
random
legs
things that go
beforehand?
No,
viral?
I would not shave my legs. Are you kidding? You love me with my hair because I don't have it on my head. So deal with the hairy
Mm-mm.
legs.
I
No,
don't
you
grow
got.
hair on my legs.
Hey, look, Colin liked it, so that's what matters. If my bros are like, yeah, dude, hip thrust, I'll get back to posting it.
If the bros are into the hip throws.
It's not
All
a
right.
thirst trap, it's a bro trap.
So like and I will say this because we kind of hit on it a little bit earlier. One of the things I will skip doing a ton of extra stuff on is like if I have somebody doing a lot of chest work and a lot of pressing, I will not program anywhere near as much shoulder work for them. Because they're already getting worked a lot, especially like posterior delt with all of that pressing movement.
Mhm.
And so that is one thing where it's like, I don't want to risk them getting hurt. And I think this is where people feel like skipping things is bad, but sometimes that is the smarter option. Because what are guys notorious for getting hurt? Their friggin' shoulders. They're
Shoulders.
notorious for rotator cuff
The
issues.
glutes.
Yeah, definitely not their glutes.
'Cause
But
I've
they
had
don't give a shit
somebody
about their glutes, which I would argue you should because guess what? Ladies also love the cake.
I
they
do Jake's programming. And I put like Bulgarians and stuff in his. I'm sure he loves. I don't put hip
you could
thrusts in his, but
you
he
could
only
bounce
gets
a
new
quarter.
training program if he does Like right now, he was supposed to get a new one like 4 weeks ago, but he hasn't finished the back deck. So I just changed his program name to back deck's not done, no training for you. So I don't update his program name. Each training program it'll be called whatever it is I need him to get done in the house. And if in 8 weeks it's not done, he has to keep repeating the same program till it is.
But I
Just
program hip thrusts for a lot of guys because I work with like guys who fight and do grappling and the
Yeah,
rest of stuff.
yeah.
And so you need to be
It's a
like
good
really hip
movement.
thrust is what you do to get people off of you from mount. Like if you're fighting, right? You
you
it is
got
a
bridge.
huge piece of your defense. And so not to mention like a lot of your power in the hips. So if you're throwing knees and like you want to have a strong
I didn't know where that
foundation.
was going for sure.
Yeah. So like for those guys, most guys might not give a shit. Your men's physique, you're like, yeah, I don't care. I'm not doing hip thrusts. But if you're doing bodybuilding, you probably want to have some stuff that's in there that's working glutes, whether that's squats and deadlifts, whatever it might be. You want some of that in. If you're doing something that's even more specific, like fighting, jujitsu, that kind of stuff, you definitely are going to want bridges and hip thrusts in there.
And I
That was
think
one
bleeding out
thing.
things intentionally, you could potentially set yourself up for an injury too. If you have a lacking part that you just have underdeveloped chronically, like guys who have only upper body and not lower body, for example, I mean, if you had
You
to
better
take
watch it, Missy. You better
Hey,
be careful
hey,
with what comes out of your mouth next.
training legs is literally beneath me.
literally it is.
I
All
remember
right. To be fair, though, I
whenever I
had a men's
was
physique guy that pretty much like he was real close to tearing his quad right off.
Dude,
Like,
how? Just from training
like
or just
we were training the shit out of his legs because he wanted to move the classic,
oh, yeah.
and we had to actually take a real huge step back from training so that he didn't end up tearing his quad off and having to get surgery. And we're like,
Yeah.
maybe classic's not for us, buddy.
I like to rotate stuff out too. So like if we have an underdeveloped area that we're really hitting for like 8, 10 weeks, I'll try to pull back on that and rotate something else in that we also like not I won't completely take it out, but I try not to just hammer like if somebody needed quads, for example, would be common in bikini, but I mean I need them, but you know what I mean. If I just hammer them for a year straight of just really intense training on just the quads, I do like I mean, you can do deload weeks and stuff too, but I kind of almost program in a non-deload where I'll kind of pull back, bring something else in more intense, and I'll kind of rotate those out like that to give their bodies a kind of a break.
Or even undulating things too. So like when we talk about undulating periodization, which whatever the periodization talk is a huge argument now in the scientific community, blah, 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 blah. But like, so I might have a heavy day and then a light day for the same movement,
yeah,
right? You could also undulate it with what you're focusing on. And this is what I think a lot of people do. Like they'll have like a quad focus day and then a glute focus day.
I do that a lot
And
for programming.
right, but so there's different ways to kind of work around that so that you're not overloading the ability to recover from your training sessions. Just like what you use can make a big difference because it's for most people a lot easier to recover from like band work and variable resistance stuff than it might be for them to recover from traditional barbell stuff or traditional weight training kind of movements. And so, okay, cool. Well, if we're going to have 3 leg days in, maybe our first one is pretty tough. And then we have a day or two. And then our second one, it's going to work maybe some of the things that didn't initially get addressed there. Like, say for upper body, external rotation would be an easy example of that. Nobody ever fucking touches external rotation on their own. And so maybe now that's one, maybe more abduction and adduction focused. And it has a little bit of the other stuff, but it's really more like we're going to get in, we're going to get some blood flow, we're going to work the smaller muscles, and then enough. And then that last day is just going to be whatever else we want to do or we feel like we need to work on. And then within that, you can also change up those rep schemes. So like maybe our first day is really heavy. Maybe our middle day is a higher rep scheme stuff, right? Because we're good at that and it's just not as hard on us specifically as an athlete. And then that last one could be another heavy day, another high day in the middle, fucking wherever. Um, and then that way your volume is split up over the week in a way that allows you to recover instead of trying to fuck and do all that shit on one day, crawling out of the gym, throwing up, not moving for the next 4 hours, and then overeating.
yeah. Because I've been asked
Those were
before,
my
like
CrossFit
something
days.
like
Trashing my body and then stuffing my face.
Yes.
I've been asked before, and especially with bodybuilding, kind of certain movements get associated with certain body parts. So like hip thrust. Well, why am I not hip thrusting 3 days a week? Well, because if you did it effectively, I don't know if did I just get paused or something? No?
I
Okay.
I
Okay.
muted myself, dog. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I
Okay.
muted myself too.
All right. I was like, wait, is my internet jacking up? But
Leave
like
me fucking weird, bro.
if you're hitting hip thrust heavy on like let's say that first heavy, like hard, high intensity, like it's a RPE 9 push to 10 on final set type day, well, your glutes should be pretty sore like 2 days later still. You shouldn't be fully recovered. Glutes are typically going to recover better than a lot of other muscle groups, but it's like, okay, well, we're going to use the same movement. Well, why not just use a partial of it, go to a bridge instead of a full on hip thrust? And then, yes, if we wanted to hit it again, like I know there's a lot of people that will really push hitting hip thrust 3 times a week, but at some point you can hit the glute from another angle. And where were you at with like intensity on those other days? Different athletes at different levels, yeah, it might make sense, but somebody that's more in that like intermediate, or you're still kind of pushing more like regional type shows, let's get you better at that movement on those other days and then see does it make sense to go adding that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that time where a lot of people were doing powerlifting and bodybuilding, and we were doing like the powerlifting splits for the
Powerlifting.
building splits for everybody. And so, like, you had all of your bikini competitors that still were benching and squatting and deadlifting because it gave them something in their off season to kind of focus on, which I don't necessarily not miss that. And I don't necessarily miss it either. I liked the idea that we would have like a weight class so that if you started getting away from your weight class and you couldn't compete in your weight class and you knew we were fucking up and we had to dial that shit back in. But it also forced them to, I think, lift heavy and hard and really focus on the strength gains, which was always a benefit for me. Um, but it was really hard on the recovery and stuff. And it's particularly when we went into prep, I would always like pull some of the shit out of training. Like we would go down to, instead of benching 2 to 3 days a week, we'd bench 1 day a week. Instead of squatting 2 to 3 days a week, we'd squat on one leg day, we'd deadlift on another leg day. Right. And so we would get just enough to try and like maintain most of that strength that we had built, which should be the goal anyways, like when you're dieting and prepping. But we would really change how we were approaching volume and training intensity stuff so that, because it's not even just your muscles that get fucking tired, man. Like when you're in a session, and anybody who's done powerlifting knows this, like, dude, getting through fucking squats alone, and when you got 4 sets of heavy squats, your like your neural
Your
stuff,
central
your
nervous
brain,
system is fried.
yeah, it just fatigues itself also. So your ability to recruit those same muscle fibers and stuff, all that stuff gets fuzzy. It doesn't quite work quite as well. And so you also have this within workout fatigue you have to be aware of and manage too, because at a certain point, if that's so high that everything that you're doing just ends up being kind of trashy, you're just like, fuck, I'm just trying to barely make it out. Like if I get that feeling, I just go home. I'm like, I fucking trashed it today. I'm burnt out.
Yep. I've
Like,
had
I don't
sessions
need to
like
try and
that.
fucking add more fuel on the fire right now to make it worse.
Right. I'm just going to fry my central nervous system. And like you see the videos of somebody pulling off like a heavy squat or a heavy deadlift, and then they just go whoop and crash out. That's their central nervous system. It's most of the time central nervous system. They maybe didn't have the right breathing technique
Yeah.
down, and they just got not enough oxygen in their bloodstream. But a lot of it's just a central nervous crash.
I always had a friend, Steven Zhao. He'll never hear this, so I'll talk about it. Whenever he deadlifted at powerlifting meets, he always passed out on his third deadlift attempt. Like every single
So would people
time.
just be up there knowing he was gonna go down?
But yeah, every time.
Oh,
You would always like tell the spotters behind, like, be ready, he's going down after this one.
I
Poor guy.
Just catch him.
I came close a couple of times, but I never had the full on like boop, taking a
Is
nap.
that why they sniff that stuff to try to like keep that from happening, or is that just
That's because it smells like shit. So it's supposed to like wake you up so that you can recruit better, but the evidence on it is like shaky from what I've seen at best. That's the ammonia powder.
Yeah.
And so some people, it just fucking psychs them up. It's like really, it gets you in the zone, I
The
guess.
first person that was like, I'm gonna snort this and
I'm gonna
see.
smell cat piss. Yeah.
Makes me
So the
better about cat piss.
yeah, because it's
They didn't even have ammonia powder back then. They just brought the cat around.
You just
So it's like they just had gym cats
that's
for you.
disgusting. They just put a big nasty fucking litter box in your face.
like I remember I used it in powerlifting, but the reason why I used it is I have a deviated septum and it would open up my other airway in my nose. So just, hey, real quick, I need a little bit more airflow. And it's like, wow, that smells horrible. Okay, let's do this. Like, that's the benefit, but it's not like I felt stronger. It was that I was able to breathe better after smelling nasty ammonia.
They
Doing
have
that
those boom
kid,
sticks,
because
real boom
Jake used
sticks
to
now.
do powerlifting. When we first started dating, I went to his powerlifting meets and stuff. But imagine that if you had a kid and they're like if I was to take pressure fit, mom, what are they snorting up their nose? And I would have to explain somehow. Because there's usually quite a
PCP,
few
baby.
kids at powerlifting meets.
So
Straight PCP.
the other thing that I found worked as well, and if anyone's listening to this and they're pregnant or they regularly deal with nausea, is an alcohol wipe.
Oh, under your nose.
Yeah, smelling the alcohol wipe would also open up my airway. And then I remember I was doing that one time around Nikki whenever she was pregnant with Ellie, and she was like, "Wait, that just kind of took away my nausea." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, here you go. Smell that. If that takes away your nausea, smell it." So when I asked my uncle about it, who's a paramedic, and I was like, "Hey, you ever heard of that?" And he was like, "Yeah, actually, that's something that we keep a lot of those in our pocket. Like if we're dealing with someone who's pregnant, because if they have nausea, smell the alcohol wipe."
Helpful for me now, Phil, because I'm done. The baby
Mm.
maker is closed.
I'll use that next time I get pregnant. Yeah. They also have those little boom boom sticks now that don't smell like ass, but they're like whatever, that also open up your nasal
Does
cavity.
something actually go into your nose, or it's just the aroma?
Yeah. Just
So it's not
maybe just
actually
the
a
tip, you know?
substance that's going in there?
I mean, if you put it up in your nose, you're gonna have a bad time.
Maybe. I
I
don't know.
guess in my mind, they were snorting some sort of ammonia powder in their nose. Like, that's what I've thought this whole
You just smell it. You're not actually snorting it into your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's
makes
just
more
aroma.
sense. That
Oof.
seems better then.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think people pee in people's noses, but that sounds. I don't think that
Oh,
would.
I'm
anybody would
sure
like
some
that.
people do.
Was it Rule 34 of the internet?
Everybody has a thing.
We
Everybody
listen and we don't judge.
I fucking judge. Fuck you.
I judge.
If you like people
Definitely.
peeing in your nose, we are not friends. Sorry, you ain't my kind of people.
You would
That's too far from me.
It's not your kind of people.
Yeah, exactly. That one's just nah, nada. So, all right. Any other ideas of things that like you guys want to talk about for things that we skip, things that we don't do, stuff in that realm
think of.
in
Think
the
about
princess escape room?
the only other thing that I'll sometimes get asked about is like training forearms. And
I've
obviously
never
that's
gotten asked that.
more of a guy thing.
Haru? What? I see people train forearms, but I have never once had somebody ask me about training. Yes, Kaylee, like that. I've never once had somebody ask me about if they needed to train forearms.
It's
They probably got it covered.
like I've asked like, okay, well, why? Like that's always my first question is, okay, well, why are you curious about this? Oh, well, I want to have,
Point in their life did they notice they had weak forearms?
I think that it's more so just an aesthetics thing, not a weak thing, because if somebody says like, hey, I want to improve grip, okay, well, we'll work on grip strength, farmers carries, things like that. But I have had people ask like, well, why aren't you programming in forearms? And it's like, it's the upper body version of calves. Like you can blast them as much as you want, and it's such a short range of motion to work either of those muscles. I think we have better time that we can work on, and we can work on like, let's do a dead hang. Let's do things that are going to challenge your grip, that you're going to actually be stronger and have more of a functional benefit from, rather than chase something that you're going to train it for a year and not really see a difference. If you're trying to get veins to pop out, well, that's more of a hydration and body fat equation than anything else.
So I think when I see that idea come up, for most people, it's not actually their grip strength that's the problem. It's something like you need to use chalk. You need to change to a different grip, right? You need to use a hook grip or an over under or something else. Um, I always tell people I don't, as a bodybuilder, I could give half a fuck about your grip strength. Like when it comes to that, because we're not worried about that. That's not something that they're looking at on stage. We're worried about how you look. Um, and if you are worried about this, like, I would rather it goes into something functional. So, are we deadlifting? Are we doing RDLs? Okay, cool. Well, maybe our grip strength sucks, and we use straps for them. Get something different like Versa grips. That's not getting rid of it completely, but now we're using that in a little bit more, or stop using them on maybe if you're using them for rows or other things like that. And then vice versa. I've had other people that had issues to where like they just had a condition and their grip was going to be something that was going to give them an issue. Cool. Let's use hooks, right? So that you don't have to be
I
limited by your
love
grip.
using hooks on some of my dumbbell
Um,
work.
but like it's so, like grip stuff. If you're doing a lot of back movements, you're going to get a ton of grip work, right? And then again, they also might just be fatigued. These tend to be smaller muscles. Guess what? Fatigue's faster. Smaller muscles. And so, like, it might just be one of those things where if you're doing a fuck ton of volume on stuff, which is very normal for people, and you're like, oh man, my grip sucks. Like, I use Versa grips for all my workouts, everything. I don't give a fuck because otherwise, guess what? My grip is giving out during the workouts, and then I can't get enough volume for what I actually need for my back.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I do think that some people, they're like, there can be those good reasons, like, well, I'm worried about my grip because this is what's limiting me in doing like getting my back work. And that's typically where I stop people. My oh, are we going to now not do all the back work so that we can fit in more grip work? Or are we just going to find a workaround and maybe use something like a Versa grip, a chalk, straps, whatever, so that we can do what we need to do and still be reasonable about it without trying to add, 4 sets of an extra exercise in when it's already tanked on recovery anyways. Because I think that's the misnomer there for a lot of people. It's like, oh, well, it's holding me back on this. And be like, well, if that's what's giving out, guess what? It's giving out. You're putting it to the max right now.
Well,
Do we
it's
need to do more than that?
Right.
right. And it's kind of the equivalent of like using a lifting belt on, overhead press, deadlift, squat. If you can spend $100 on a belt, or you can spend $50 on Versa grips, or you can spend, you know, $10 on a chalk that will probably last you 3 years, and you're immediately stronger and you can push past an existing limitation, then by all means. They're also like, I like having a strong grip just because I'm a dad. Like, I
Old
want to
school.
be able to
I
just
mean,
like,
it's the idea of the strong handshake, and that like that
even
somehow indicates how big your penis is, like
even
from day
so
one.
even that, like, that is such a great way to just piss me off. Like, there's a happy medium on a handshake. Like, you try to break my hand, fuck you. And at the same time, you go handing me that like limp fish thing of a handshake, which I my grandmother was really close friends with a professional wrestler for many, many years, like going back 70s, 80s, 90s. And I went to shake one of her boyfriend's hands, who happened to also be a former pro wrestler, and he gives me this just like super soft, limp handshake. And I remember just going, "Oh, well, it must just be because he's old." And they're like, "Well, no. Back then in their day, it was like, how good of a worker are you? The softer that your handshake is, the more that you take care of people." But right now, I'm like, look, give me like a happy medium on a handshake. I know this is a totally random offshoot that we're walking down here, but like actual grip, there's something to be said about, hey, I can pick up the groceries and take them inside. I don't have to worry about my hand slipping.
Yeah.
Or hey, if I'm trying to work a bolt loose on like our car, I've got the grip strength to be able to utilize it. Like, there's a functionality side of things. There's also always that like in the back of my head, and I think this just must be like a man thing. If I can hold and hang my body weight for like a minute at least, then if I'm ever in a life or death situation on the edge of a cliff, I just might survive.
I get. I always wonder how what like I think I can hold on, but like to pull myself up, I probably just died.
Fuck yeah. Like, that's my time to go. That's it.
But
Although
feel
I
like
don't want to fucking like almost die and fall down and then be stuck like actively dying.
for like 2
Like,
days.
yeah, fuck that.
Say